You finish another PC build, my dude? Nah, Corsair sent out this pre-build. Oh my God, a pre-build? What? Are you good, bro? It's been a long time since I've looked at a pre-build. True. Hit me with some details. So when you first open the box that the PC comes in, you're gonna see this giant unpacking instruction sheet, and it's gonna show you the PC inside the box, and the power supply cable and the Wi-Fi antenna are also in there. There's the packaging inserts to protect it during transport. There's the foam to protect the components on the inside. How to hook up your display cable or cables and the Wi-Fi antenna, and then how to hook up the power supply cable. And then when you scan this QR code, it's gonna take you to Corsair's website, and it's gonna show you how to fully set up the PC, from powering the PC on, an explanation of all of the ports on the motherboard and on the top of the case, how to use Corsair's IQ software and the diagnostic software. It's gonna show you everything on the warranty, and basically just completely walk you through how to set up the PC. So it can be pretty intimidating for new PC users, so that's pretty cool that they walk you through it. And then it's also gonna come with this box over here, and the Wi-Fi antenna and the power supply cable originally came in here, but I already took those out. But we've got a warranty guide. We've got a couple of cards that say thank you for choosing a Corsair Vengeance PC, and thank you for choosing the Corsair family. And we got a little 10% discount code if anybody wants to nab that for Corsair's website. And then we've got all of the extra power supply cables and a SATA data cable. The case itself is a Corsair 3500X Vengeance. We've got some branding up here, but we've got a tinted front glass. We've got a tinted side glass. We've got a ventilated top panel. We've got a solid back panel, but we've got ventilation on this side for our side fans. We've got a gap on the bottom to allow fresh air into the system. And then here is the rear of the PC. But overall, definitely not a bad looking case. What's in the build? So the specs are actually pretty impressive for this PC. It's got a Ryzen 9700X CPU, and that's being cooled by a Corsair H100X 240mm AIO. The motherboard is an MSI Pro B650. It's got 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RAM at 5200 megatransfers per second. For storage, it's got a 1 terabyte Gen 4 Corsair NVMe. The GPU is an MSI 4070 Ti Super, and it is a 2-fan card. The fans are the Corsair RS120s. We've got 3 intake on the side, and we've got 2 exhaust on the top and 1 exhaust on the rear for some nice neutral pressure. And those fans look really good. Then looks like we've got room for expansion. Looks like you can fit a 120mm fan down here and 2 right here. So you could have 6 intake fans if you wanted to for a bit better airflow. But honestly, not bad specs, and it looks pretty good so far. Not a bad build list at all. The real question is, how bad is the cable management in the back? I peeked at it earlier, and you have to check it out. You know how crazy I get with cable management. Trust me, I know. Let's see it. Wow, I was definitely not expecting that, but you must have tidied it up beforehand. Nope, I actually did not touch anything, but this is 100% Dancam approved. Then we've got a Corsair RM750E fully modular power supply, and it is gold rated, so perfect for this build, and nice, clean, efficient power. But look at these cable runs. Props to whoever put this build together, because this is what you want to see. 90% of custom PC builders don't even go to this length to do cable management. So this is honestly extremely impressive from Corsair. All right, let's power it up. So we are now booted up to the desktop after the regular Windows install process. Of course, Windows is already installed, but you have to run through all the steps of logging into your Microsoft account or creating a new one and all of the boring prompts that come afterward. But to my surprise, there's almost nothing installed on this PC. Of course, all of the default Windows 11 Home apps are on here, but the only thing Corsair put on here is this wallpaper. They've got a link to the Corsair help guide. So if you're running into any issues with the system, they've got a telephone number you can use for their support, and then also their online RMA support link. And they did install this Corsair Diagnostics software app. So if we open this up, this is kind of your hub for everything with the system. So we have another way to get to Corsair support. We have an analysis tab where you can run tests on individual components or stress tests. You can run interactive tests where it says these hardware tests can be used to check the functionality of connected devices. We've got all of your system info, so it'll show you everything in the system, which is great, especially because a lot of pre-built owners may not even know what's in their system. So this gives you an overview. We've got this Windows utility tab, which is interesting. It's basically just shortcuts to Windows settings. So if we want to get to security and maintenance, we can click run and it'll just take you to the security and maintenance settings within Windows. So it's basically got everything in here that you might need a quick access link to, which is pretty interesting. So if we want to get to mouse properties, we can click that and then boom, there's our Windows settings for mouse properties. Then there's also this events calendar, which I actually thought was pretty cool. So it'll actually use Event Viewer to log any kind of error that may happen. So this was the day I first booted up the PC, and if we scroll all the way down, we can see a previous system shutdown. So I actually powered the PC off by holding the power button, which you're not supposed to do, but I didn't have a monitor connected, so I just shut it down. So it actually logged this event. So if you do run into any issues like system crashes or any issues, it should log it in this calendar, and it may help you diagnose what the problem may be. So this software may be useful for some people, but I did think this events calendar was actually really cool. I've never seen anything like this. But other than that, this is just a regular copy of Windows 11 Home. I did install all of these apps myself to either change up the RGB or monitor temps. And then of course I've got Steam on there, but let's go ahead and jump into the stress tests. So I'm using the program OCCT to run this benchmark, and I'm leaving it at default settings. You can see it's at its base clock of 3,800 megahertz, and this thing's barely staying around 57, 58 degrees Celsius. I did go into the BIOS and adjust some settings like PBO. I also adjusted the thermal limit and tried a bunch of other settings and different OC settings, and the max temperature I saw was around the low 70s. So these new 9700Xs run very, very cool, especially compared to their 7000 series counterparts. So the 240 millimeter AIO is doing its job really well. And then even in game, I think the max temperature I saw was 68 degrees Celsius. So very impressed with the CPU temps. So we are about 10 minutes into the GPU benchmark for the RTX 4070 Ti Super, and almost the entire time it was staying around the mid 70s and then would occasionally go up to 71 degrees Celsius. And you can see we're pulling about 284 watts, 285 with 100% load being placed on the GPU during this test. So it's staying extremely cool. And then even while in game, the average temperature was probably the low 60s, but it ranged anywhere from about 55 degrees Celsius up to around 66, 67 during some of the graphically intense games. So very impressed with the thermals for the GPU as well. How does it do in games? So I wanted to test this PC in different situations. So at first I hooked up a 1080p monitor. This is a 24-inch one, and I wanted to try something competitive like an FPS. So we loaded up Counter-Strike 2, and I actually maxed out all of the settings to ultra. Basically anything I could switch to the max, I did, and this thing was incredibly smooth and it played really well. And as you can tell from our little FPS counter up here, we're getting almost 400 FPS. And then when I lowered the settings all the way down, I got over 500. He's clearly cheating. So then I brought the PC out into my living room and I hooked it up to my 4K 120 Hertz TV because I wanted to try something really graphically intense and put this PC through its paces, because we tried 1080p to see what the most amount of frames is, but I really wanted to test this system. So we're playing in a 4K resolution. We're playing the game Horizon Forbidden West, and we're playing on all ultra settings. And if you've ever played this game, you know that it is extremely demanding and it is absolutely beautiful. And this PC handled it with no issues. It was extremely smooth, the temps were fantastic, and we hovered between 60 to 80 FPS the entire time on ultra settings. So I'm extremely impressed with how this PC handled both sides of the spectrum as far as gaming goes. It's honestly performing much better than I expected. Final thoughts? Well, we kind of knew it was going to perform well. I mean, it does have a 9700X CPU and a 4070 Ti Super, which are some of the fastest components on the market right now. But I do know what you mean. Sometimes it's hard to gauge how good a pre-build is really going to be. So as far as my final thoughts, let's just jump into some pros and cons. And we'll start off with the pros. So the first one is going to be that this machine is very well built. Whoever put this together at the Corsair factory definitely took their time and put a lot of love and care into it, because like I said earlier, this is some of the best cable management that I've ever seen, even on a lot of custom builds. So to see this on a pre-build just shows that they really, stand behind their product and care about it. So this was really cool to see this level of detail with cable management. I know a lot of people don't care, but that's a great sign that the PC was, well cared for in the building process. So another pro is going to be that the PC is ready to go right out of the box. You just take it out of the box, plug in the power supply cable, hook up the Wi-Fi antenna, press the power button, and you're pretty much ready to go. You don't have to deal with compatibility of components and everything else that goes into building your own. So another pro is going to be that it's got a 2-year warranty and Corsair support, because as some people know, diagnosing PCs can be pretty difficult. So this way you have a 2-year warranty in case anything goes wrong, and then you can always contact Corsair if you're running into any issues, and they can go ahead and help you diagnose whatever the issue may be with. So you don't have to deal with RMA of individual components and all the normal stuff that comes with building your own. So another pro is going to be that there's very minimal bloatware. So I had no idea what to expect when I got this machine, because a lot of pre-builds can just load up all of these garbage apps because they're the ones to install Windows and they choose what apps go on it, from the factory. And I was very pleasantly surprised to find that there was just the one Corsair app, which honestly is probably going to be pretty useful for people that are just getting into PC. So not a bad app, and after all, you can just delete it if you want to. So it was cool to see it's just a regular copy of Windows 11 Home, and there wasn't too much garbage on it. Another pro is going to be that it's upgradable. So these are all off-the-shelf parts. So if you want to upgrade parts later on, like your RAM or your storage or anything else, it will be fairly easy to upgrade. I say fairly easy because you obviously still have to do the work to make sure everything's compatible and you get the right stuff, but all off-the-shelf parts and easily upgradable. And the last pro is going to be that it's just a very solid machine and it performed extremely well. So as far as cons go, I do feel like some of the components are a little lacking. Starting off with the RAM, while at least it's in dual channel and they chose some really nice RGB sticks, the speed is 5200. So it would have been nice to see that bumped up to maybe 6,000 or 6,400, but DDR5 is pretty temperamental, so I do get why they went the safer option with 5,200, but it would have been nice to see that bumped up a little bit. The second is going to be the motherboard. So while this motherboard is sufficient for most people, and obviously most people aren't going to be doing much overclocking, it would have been nice to see something a little bit fancier, maybe something with some cool VRM cooling and something that has more NVMe ports, because I believe this one has 2. And storage these days is very tough because games are getting bigger and bigger in size. And another one is going to be the NVMe drive itself. I would have really liked to see a heatsink on this drive. So this is a Gen 4 drive, so it is a fast SSD, but there's no heatsink on it. So these are really fast and they do generate some heat, and it would have been really nice to see a heatsink on there. And the last one is going to be bottom fans. I do feel like bottom fans really would have set this apart. And while it does look great and the cable management's fantastic, I do think bottom fans just would have been that little cherry on top as far as looks go. And I don't know how expensive these fans are, you know, if it would have raised the price that much, but I do feel like filling out the bottom ones should have been done. But the cooling's great. It obviously still looks good, but those bottom fans I think would have set it apart. And the biggest con is going to be the price. So this build is $2,500. And can you build this yourself for cheaper? Of course. Pretty much any pre-build out there is never going to be cheaper than building yourself, because when you build it yourself, you can pick each component, you can buy from different vendors, you can buy on sale, you can buy used, you can pretty much do whatever you want, and you have complete control of the entire build, from the motherboard to the CPU to the RAM to the graphics card to the fans to everything in between. So yes, this is a pricey build. And are people going to see the value in that $2,500? Some may say yes, some may say no, because obviously you can build it yourself for cheaper. And if you've built one before, I mean, you know how to do it, you know what entails in that process. So for those people, no. But to the people that don't want to do it, don't have the interest, don't have the time, they want that nice little warranty, they just want to get their machine and it to work properly, I do think this is a good idea for those people. But at the same time, you really gotta justify whether that $2,500 price tag is worth it for you. So a bit on the pricier side, and yes, you can build it for yourself, but you've really got to decide whether that's the right move for you. So lastly, would I recommend this machine? And the answer is going to be yes. If you're in the market for a pre-build right now and you don't want to build your own, you just want it to be ready right out of the box, you want that 2-year warranty, and you want a really solid machine that was really well put together, I do think this is a fantastic option. If you're looking for the best value and the cheapest possible route, and you really want full control of your build, obviously I would recommend building your own. But I do see the value in this machine, and it's been a long time since I've looked at a pre-built, but I do think this one checks all the boxes for being a pre-built. And I actually really enjoyed my experience with it, and it performed really well. I actually had it hooked up to my TV for a little over a week, and I probably played about 20 hours of Horizon Forbidden West with it, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a good machine, looks great. Corsair definitely took their time with it, and I really appreciate all the effort they put into cable management once again. So if you're in the market, I would highly recommend at least considering it. So thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe if you enjoy my content, like the video, comment down below what you think, and I'll see y'all in the next video.